please join me this morning for our opening words by turning to the responsive reading number 512, which is in the back of your gray hardback hymnal. Now, this reading was written by Reverend Eugene Pickett, who is the former president of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Your part is the one in italics. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknowing, galaxies upon galaxies filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations.
We give thanks this day.
For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons.
We give thanks this day.
For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements.
We give thanks this day.
For our human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression.
We give thanks this day.
For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared.
We give thanks this day.
For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom.
We give thanks this day.
For human liberty and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose.
We give thanks this day. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds.
We kindle our flaming chalice this morning with the words of Reverend Fulgence and Migiana, who serves a Unitarian church in Burundi. We share his words in solidarity with Unitarian Universalists across the globe who are working to free him and some of his congregants after the Burundi government arrested them at gunpoint this week because of their advocacy of peace and nonviolence in the midst of a very repressive regime. His beautiful chalice lighting reminds us of the powers of our faith. When strangers meet, endless possibilities emerge. New experiences, new ways of understanding, and new ways of taking action. When strangers meet, each pays special attention to the other. Each is called to serve something larger than the self. Today, this morning, let's light the chalice for openness, for willingness to grow, for rich curiosity, and for common purpose. Would John come forward to light the chalice? Please join in our chalice lighting words, which are in your order of service. We light
This chalice for the warmth of love, for the light of truth, and for the energy of action.
Long ago, but not so long ago, there was a war. And people's homes and villages were destroyed, and they couldn't live there anymore. And so they had to leave where they lived. And they had to find shelter and food and a new life. These people were called refugees. They were looking for refuge. They were looking for safety and help from other people. And so in this one village, when the refugee arrived in town, she noticed that people shut their curtains and they slammed their doors shut. And they acted like they weren't home. But there were some children in the village who were curious about the refugee. And so they gathered in the village square to check out who this stranger was. Hello, children. I've been traveling a long time and I'm really hungry. But I wasn't noticing anything to eat in your town. And I do have a good recipe, though. I have a recipe for stone soup. I've got 2 really tasty stones right here. But I just need a pot. I wonder if anyone in the village has a pot.
I have it now.
You have a pot? So, children, could you get the pot? Could you get the pot and bring it to me? Wonderful. You have a pot too? That's great. Well, I only need 1 pot right now. Okay. Oh, and it's a nice big one. Excellent. So first thing, the first part of this recipe, of course, is the stones. But I need some salt and pepper. Does anyone have salt and pepper in this town? Anybody out in the village have salt and pepper? You've got some salt and pepper? Excellent. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and excellent. Oh, and we will need a little water from the well over here. Excellent. Now, but you know what would make it taste even better is if there were some carrots. I wonder if anyone in this village has carrots. She's got carrots. Can someone get her carrots? Oh, excellent. Carrots. They're so sweet and flavorful. Oh, my, my, my. Okay, we've got carrots, but that's sweet. You have to kind of balance it with some savory. Onions. I wonder if anyone in this whole village has any onions.
I have some onions.
You've got onions. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And you know what else would be good? I find that if there's just a bit of cabbage in a soup, it tastes great. Do you think anyone in any of these houses would have cabbage?
I have cabbage.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Oh. And usually a few herbs. I mean, I think probably you have some gardens with some fresh herbs going. Maybe a bit of parsley. Thank you. Parsley. There's some parsley back there. Excellent. Your town has so much good stuff. I'm going to be needing a spoon, too, to stir all these good things up. Yes. Oh, a spoon. A spoon. Can someone get the spoon? Oh, wonderful. We just need to do that. Oh, and you know what? Sometimes a soup needs something to just kind of make it hearty. And I'm thinking this is the kind of area that grows potatoes. We're kind of near Idaho.
I have a potato.
Excellent. Potatoes? Anybody? Can you get these potatoes? 2 potatoes. Wonderful. Excellent. Oh. That is just wonderful. Can you smell how good that is? Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. And you know what else we need? Skittles. You've got some Skittles? Are there Skittles back there? Oh, good. Can someone get the Skittles? Great. We need Skittles in this soup.
We definitely need Skittles.
Yeah, we definitely need some Skittles. And so just put some Skittles in. And there's enough to share. So you can pass them around and have some Skittles. And I think that our soup will be done really, really soon. So. Over time, all kinds of ingredients got put in this pot till it was overflowing with soup that was great, and the aromas went out over the whole town. And people started coming out of their house going, I'd like some of that soup. And they were bringing some bread and some fruit and some more Skittles and other things to share. And everyone gathered in the town square. And they said to the children, thank you for welcoming the stranger and showing us that sharing is how we bless each other. And so they all shared a great feast, including the Skittles. And, oh, we've got more Skittles left. And so we will also be sharing some stone soup together for lunch from contributions you all have brought. And for those of you who are our guests, we welcome you to our table to share the blessings of sharing. Thank you. Oh, people, indeed, we created you from a male and a female, and we made you nations and tribes that you may know one another. Chapter 49, verse 13, the Quran.
In 1893, leaders from the world's religions gathered for the first time to share, to learn, to discover each other. Unitarian Universalists were instrumental in creating that historic event, which brought Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, Christians, and many other faiths together for the very first time at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago.
It was another 100 years before the Parliament gathered again in Chicago, and then Melbourne, Barcelona, and Cape Town.
And this October, again in Salt Lake City, 7 of us from this congregation gathered with them. This morning, we shared the blessings of the sharing that occurred over 5 days with almost 10,000 people of faith around the world.
The Parliament of the World's Religions was created to cultivate harmony among the world's religious and spiritual communities and foster their engagement with the world and its guiding institutions in order to achieve a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. The vision of the Parliament aligns with our Unitarian Universalist values. They are powerful statements that offer hope as we struggle in a world torn by violence, fear, hatred, and greed. The Parliament's vision is that of a just, peaceful, and sustainable world in which
religions and spiritual communities live in harmony and contribute to a better world from their riches of wisdom and compassion.
Religious and cultural fears and hatreds are replaced with understanding and respect.
People everywhere come to know and care for their neighbors. The richness of human and religious diversity is woven into the fabric of communal, civil, societal, and global life.
the world's most powerful and influential institutions move beyond narrow self-interest to realize the common good.
The earth and all life are cherished, protected, healed, and restored.
All people commit to living out their highest values and aspirations.
And so we gathered with others so that we may know them. The halls of the Salt Palace was bustling with people on their way to hundreds of programs, including huge plenary sessions addressing women, indigenous peoples, income inequality, climate change, emerging young leaders, and war, violence, and hate.
Our hearts, our minds, our very beings were touched forever by participating in this Parliament. We each had our own unique experience of this marvelous mingling and sharing. We offer you some brief glimpses of the blessings we received to lift your hearts this morning, especially in this time of troubling news about violence, fear-mongering, and despair.
After the conference ended, a visual image came to my mind's eye. I saw the huge conference center where this parliament occurred hovering in the air, about a foot off its foundation. For 3 jam-packed days, I was with 9,699 other people whose sole intent was forwarding positive change through compassionate understanding. It was a profound experience. Next time I travel to Salt Lake City past the conference center, I fully expect to see it continue to be airborne. It is difficult to distill participating in such an event into a few succinct words, so I'm going to give you a few poignant snippets of what I experienced. The Parliament was held on the historical tribal lands of the Goshute and Shoshone Native Americans, and they welcomed us warmly. It was an absolute joy to see Native Americans from across the Northern Hemisphere gracefully standing in full traditional regalia at the back of the hall as people from around the world in their own native dress filed past, openly admiring them. This is in contrast to my seeing Native Americans as a child in Oregon, poor, bedraggled, demeaned people, catching their last salmon at Celilo Falls as the water backed up behind the Dalles Dam on the Columbia River, flooding the last of their fishing grounds. Or in contrast to the occasional teepee encampment where a little Indian girl my age stuck her tongue out at me for the longest time, hating me, a privileged white child. In the session titled Climate Change and You, I realized how much I had forgotten from my liberal Berkeley, California college years in the late 60s. 16 meals can be provided from the food and water that goes into a cow in order to make one hamburger. Bhagwati Saraswati, Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, a Swami, a Buddhist, a rabbi, and 2 distinguished imams spoke to us about the direct link between our diet and climate change. The catalog described this presentation. Culprits of climate change and environmental destruction are typically thought of as industry, governments, and transportation. Yet now, more than ever, we as individuals have a much greater and potential opportunity to mitigate climate change, environmental destruction, and even global poverty through the choices we make. I saw the movie Race to Extinction, and it showed a typical cow carrying on her back a huge blue bladder, expanded by and containing the methane that her digestive system created in one day, and it was huge. It's what is expelled into the atmosphere every day by every cow on Earth. Personally, attending this event helped forward and clarify my own thinking about how I might continue to give over my skills as an artist toward creating sculpture that can forward compassion. This is something I've only begun to do. Being rather hard-headed, as my husband Pete will undoubtedly agree, dents were definitely made in my finally really understanding that we, the earth, other people, animals, plants, our energy, our actions, all indeed are interconnected spiritually and in every other way. And what we do to one, we do to the other. Again and again, that was the message of the Parliament.
While it's exceedingly difficult to try to decide on a favorite workshop, in an experience as vast an opportunity as the Parliament was, the one that had the most profound effect on me was a 7 a.m. session on mindfulness meditation. The workshop was taught by Sergio, a young man from the Rhyme Buddhist Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Now, the roots of meditation are said to be approximately 1700 to 1100 BC and found in the Vedas, the ancient Hindu scriptures. And Sergio explains to us that although meditation is a very, very ancient process, it's found its way into nearly every major world religion that exists, in some form or another. Chanting, praying, using rosary beads, all are common extensions of that meditation practice. Another form that came to us through the Buddhist tradition is mindfulness meditation. The practice of mindfulness involves being aware moment to moment of your conscious experience exactly as you are experiencing it, raw and unfiltered. As you practice mindfulness, you'll begin to be more and more aware of that stream of consciousness that's constantly roaring in the background, that monkey mind that chatters away in the back of our mind. But with practice, we were assured by Sergio that you learn not to attach any of those thoughts that are rattling by. Don't attach to them at all, and you stay in the moment, present and aware. John Kabat-Zinn is said to be responsible for bringing mindfulness to the West. He's a professor of medicine emeritus and creator of the Stress Reduction Clinic at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He devised a raisin eating exercise for his stress reduction seminar to give people the sensory experience of mindfulness meditation rather than just talking about it. Each person in the group was given a raisin to eat very slowly and mindfully as a way to show them that meditation is not something very mystical or otherworldly. On the contrary, mindfulness meditation is about being grounded and fully present in the here and the now, in the midst of our complex lives. So we were led through the exercise of feeling a raisin, bringing it to our noses and smelling that one single raisin, touching it to our lips, feeling it around our mouth, and finally being given permission to put it into your mouth and begin to just roll it around in your mouth, feeling it, and then finally getting to chew, taste, and swallow that raisin. It was explosive. Both the exquisite taste of the simple raisin and the experience of having gone so deeply into the normal, mindless act of eating. Slowing down a process that I've done 1,000,000 times. And allowing myself the time to appreciate that act in every aspect, somehow it transformed me. The food involved became as fine as any gourmet treat you could ever ask for. The simple slowing down did not transform the food. It was the same as it had always been. It was a simple raisin. Somehow, the slowing down transformed how I felt about that food. The complexities of the flavor, the very sacredness of food as it enters your body. When we had all finished swallowing, Sergio had given us this same mindful intent to our breathing, to pay attention as the air passes through your nostrils. I got it. My breath had also become sacred. John Kabat-Zinn said, when we're mindful, we align ourselves with the natural sacredness of things just as they are. We can eventually recognize that existence itself is a state of grace and gratitude becomes our path towards natural appreciation and joy. And that has stuck with me.
About the Dalai Lama not actually being able to be at the Parliament was very quickly forgotten when I saw everything else that was available to us. The very first morning we got to experience Sheroes United, flash mob. Many dancers and drummers came together and they gave a very entertaining and inspiring conclusion to this very, very horrible, moving message. 1 billion women around the world have been raped, beaten, or murdered. 1 Billion Rising is an offshoot of V-Day, the project of Eve Ensler's of Vagina Monologues fame. It is dedicated to fighting violence against women. The main focus of this year's Parliament was on climate change and the sustainability of all life. There were environmentalists from so many different faith traditions. Sessions about Islam and the environment and earth and ethics in the Shinto tradition were just examples. We heard several very compelling talks on the sacredness of the lives of animals. Some were even so protective of all life that they wore a mask to keep from inhaling any microorganisms that they might accidentally breathe in. I was particularly impressed with environmental justice activist and eco-feminist, that's something to aspire to, Dr. Vandana Shiva. She advocated for local agriculture, right to safe seeds, clean water, and especially reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. Soil, Not Oil is one of her very excellent books. She's written about 30. Climate Change in You, that Suzanne mentioned, was the most powerful session on interfaith environmental ethics. The large panel, which she mentioned, included a reverend, a rabbi, a couple of imams, a couple of swamis, a Tibetan monk, and others. All of them spoke of things that individuals can do for the environment with the personal choices we make. Organically growing food, not using polluting chemicals, not being crazy consumers, making better transportation choices. Those were all things that were discussed. But the focus was on the long shadow of livestock, which is the name of a United Nations report. Years ago, I read Diet for a Small Planet in college. At the same time, I was taking my first live yoga class, and I was inspired at that time to be a vegetarian. I've gone through many levels of pseudo-vegetarianism since then, but this workshop renewed my environmental zeal about that subject. The impact of more and more people eating more and more meat was spelled out in many ways. The panel presented very compelling facts about how much arable land is used to raise livestock and how much of global warming can be attributed to that same. So much of our increasingly scarce water goes to agriculture, and the majority of that goes for raising livestock. Even though the members of this panel could easily be labeled fanatic, they didn't expect it to turn us all into vegans. They suggested doing what we could, not having meat for every meal, not having it as the main focus of every meal, eating smaller quantities and less often. As the developing world is able to have the things that we all feel entitled to, like steaks and cars, there will be shortages. But now, one of the swamis told us, what we suffer from is a global consciousness shortage, but we can and must recover from that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
also participated in the Parliament, but unfortunately they're traveling. They plan to offer a full worship service about their Parliament experience in the future, but Mary sent along the video of the chanting Tibetan Buddhist monks, and Dan offers the following brief reflection. One of the highlights of my experience was the diversity of people there. In our state, there isn't much diversity in people, and the diversity of people at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Salt Lake City was refreshing and enjoyable. There were 9,500 people from 70 different countries there. There were people of every color, shape, size, and sex. Many of these people were dressed in their traditional religious or national garb, and that was truly fascinating. This amazingly diverse group of people belongs to an equally diverse group of faiths, some of which I'd never even heard of. Best of all, despite the diverse peoples and their faiths, there existed among them a common bond of compassion for all the peoples of the world and an extraordinary energy for the action to make the world a better place for everyone.
Julianne also went, but she is sick this morning, and so I'm going to read what she had to say. When I became aware of the Parliament, I chose to volunteer to help and sign up for 4 shifts, where I was assigned to help people find where they needed to go. I had little to no orientation, so I often would literally walk people to their destination. This is how I found my way around the massive Salt Palace. I had some memorable interactions, including a monk who just arrived from Nepal and was supposed to meet his chaperone at an unknown location. Through grit and determination, I was able to deliver him to his companion. Whenever I saw him after that, he'd give me a thumbs up. I was drawn to the 2015 Parliament theme, which was reclaiming the heart of humanity. The first Women's Assembly of the Parliament was held, and we listened to powerful women leaders who shared a common theme, which was, we are the women, the nurturers and protector of the children and our home. All of the world's children are our children, and our planet is our home. Each day of Parliament, the international Sikh community served langar, a Sikh tradition. Langar is a meal that is prepared and served by the Sikhs in a reverent spirit of gratitude and service. Attendees were welcomed into the langar area by lovely women who invited us to take off our shoes and gave us a head covering. We were then led by men in turbans and invited to sit in a line on the floor. There was another line of people facing you, and the servers would walk up and down the long lines with containers of the most awesome Indian food you could want. Yummy. It was such an impressive display, and I attended every day. Who wouldn't? I attended several sessions over the 5 days of the Parliament, including presenters of the like of Marianne Williamson, Medea Benjamin, Dr. Vedana Shiva, Jean Shinoda Bolin, and Terry Tempest Williams, to name a few. There were so many fascinating and worthwhile sessions to choose from that it was truly difficult. You would need a month to get through them all, and we had 5 days. This experience convinced me that I wanted to attend the next Parliament, wherever it is held. I left feeling a sense of calm, knowing that there are thousands who feel as I do, and that the time for activism is now.
Looking back over my pages and pages of notes, my heart was bursting with, yes, that was brilliant, or wow, that was a great new insight, or oh, that's stuff I want to tell my people back in Ogden. I look forward to sharing many of these gems with you over time. But in light of the troubles of the world right now, the words of Valerie Kaur feel right to share. Valerie, an American Sikh, became an interfaith activist after her brother was murdered in our post-September 11th hysteria. She turned her grief into activism, urging us to make revolutionary love the heart of our faith. This love that she speaks of proclaims, I am you, you are me, I cannot stand by if you are suffering. Her Sikh faith, and by the way, when we say Sikh, we learn one of the things we learned, or at least I know I learned at this parliament, is that the word is Sikh, S-I-K-H. We Americans tend to say Sikh, but the Sikhs refer to themselves as Sikhs. So I learned something. Her Sikh faith reminds us that the path of love is not safe nor easy. It requires us to face the fires of the world with the compassionate eyes of a saint and a warrior's heart. She talks about being able to walk into the fire to do the revolutionary love. She shares that courage is fear that has said its prayers, and that forgiveness is freedom from hate. Indeed, I do believe that we are called to this kind of revolutionary love and courage beyond anything that we have ever experienced as we seek to create mercy, justice, and peace in our world that is so, so deeply hurting right now. I take heart, a lot of heart, that almost 10,000 compassionate peace warriors for revolutionary love gathered in Salt Lake and are now taking their passionate commitment to peace and justice out into the world. And we're not alone in our quest. Each of us has the potential to touch thousands more through our acts of love and justice making. I invite each of you to join us on this journey as it unfolds because, yes, our lives and the fate of our entire planet depend on it. As we enter our time of peaceful reflection and prayer this morning, let us sing a song that we learned at the Parliament. It was written by Emma's Revolution, an indie folk duo, and they wrote it in the immediate aftermath of September 11th, where they were right there in New York City. The words are really simple. Peace, salam, shalom. Salam meaning peace in Arabic, shalom meaning peace in Hebrew. Peace, shalom, salam. Nick and the choir are going to lead us, and as Valakor said, when we sing together, the separation between us melts away, and we fall in love.
Peace, shalom, shalom. 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 Peace, shalom, shalom.
Let our hearts today be at peace as we focus on the things that are really important to us. Let's offer our loving, focused attention, our beautiful presence here together as we gather in prayer. Let us pray. O Spirit of love and life, help us grow in our capacity to love. Help us open our hearts wider than we ever thought possible as we embrace the world and all its complications and complexities. Help us find our courage and our compassion as we speak our own truth and stand on the side of love against all fear, all hatred, all cruelty, all anger, all persecution, all ways that people hurt one another. Help us to know that we are not alone, but part of a vast network of loving souls who seek to create heaven on earth. We send our loving support to the people of France, Belgium, Mali, Lebanon, Syria, and so many other places touched by violence and fear. We hold a special place for all refugees, that they may travel safely to new, secure, and fulfilling lives. We pray for our nation to set aside fear and embrace the stranger with full and open hearts. We pray for wise leaders to guide us in the ways of love and compassion. Closer to home, we hold 3 of our families tenderly in their time of loss. Cliff Noel's mother, Alida, died on Friday morning. She was much beloved and will be missed by Cliff and Laura, as well as other members of this congregation who knew Alida as a frequent presence here when she lived in Ogden. And we hold the Delton family in our hearts at the loss of Melanie's mother, Lene, and also David Guyman for the loss of his mother, Marilyn, who died in the last few days. May all who grieve at this time feel the loving support of this community supporting them. In this week of Thanksgiving, let us also celebrate the blessings in our lives with grace and with gratitude. Let us be ever thankful for family, friends, food, freedom, and fun, and lots of other good F words. And let us thank the earth for her bounty that sustains us, and for the most basic gift of all, the gift of life, our precious, important, beautiful lives. As we worship this morning, I know that we all come here with different things on our hearts, things that are gentle on our mind, people that we love and wish to hold in our hearts. You're invited now to speak aloud the names of those who you would like to have held in the loving, collective embrace of this community this morning. Please speak these names out loud now. By our listening, we weave the fabric of the beloved community. May we feel the loving support of this congregation, our dearest loved ones, and the spirit of life which holds and sustains us through our times of joy and our times of sorrow together. Let us enter a time of silence so that we can hear the words that our very own hearts need to speak to us. Shalom, salam, shanti, amen. Blessed be.